The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Want the real story behind the sound bites and headlines? Let's find the facts. Remember, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. You are not paranoid or confused. You just need to know.
Hey everybody, it's Kip Keefer, another edition of Need to Know. It's a Monday morning when we typically convene to visit with you. We, of course, appreciate everybody who listens whenever it is, whether it's when the show gets posted officially later today or anytime during the upcoming week. So whenever you're joining us, welcome aboard. If it's your first time, we like to say all the time, and once again, apologies to our regular listeners, but we don't like to tell you what to think. We just encourage you to think for yourself. And I think today's discussion is going to be so much along those lines because, look, I am a live and let live guy. If you have a different opinion than me, if you have different ideas, if you have different ideologies, that's great. As long as those ideologies and opinions and, place that you're taking a stand are your ideas, your opinions, and yours alone. I have total respect for anybody who's gone through that process to arrive whatever conclusion that they are on every particular issue. It's your life. It's your opportunity. That's what America is all about. America is each individual having that opportunity to stand their ground and make their decisions and live their lives accordingly. And it's so amazing to me that so many people, no matter what turf that they occupy after going through that process, have not arrived at that from their own contemplation and their own conclusions on things. So many people are so easily manipulated and drawn into this magnetic pull from whatever source it might be. And again, this is not to impugn any one group. This is to pretty much indict anybody who allows themselves to be influenced. And that's why today's show is going to be called, the theme of today's show is Wag the Dog. And you might remember in 1997, there was a Hollywood movie by that same title, Wag the Dog. It starred Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro as a spin doctor for a political party and a sitting president and a Hollywood executive producer. And they team up when this president is running for re-election to basically invent a fake war to distract people from a giant scandal that is getting ready to blow up in the headlines. It's really right on the verge of being the talk of the country. So they create a fake war, and they go through the process of completely manipulating the public and the press. It's really more of an indictment not on people but on the media and how gullible and vulnerable they are to want to take hook, line, and sinker any big story. And it's really indicative and very revealing of the easy way that the public and the media especially can be manipulated and taken in terms of different paths to distract them from what their real job and their real purpose is. So we are seeing Wag the Dog played out in real life because right now, this president, Donald J. Trump, is surging in terms of all of his policies that were put in place in his first year back in office that just concluded in 2025. A lot of those are really going to come to fruition right now. You've got the Democrat Party absolutely scrambling to tear down the Trump administration any way they can, to find any vulnerability, any place to mount their their assault, and it's very tough work right now because all the moves that this president has made are going to come to fruition. People are going to see their tax refunds be considerably more. Some economists and even ones outside the Trump realm are saying on average anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 larger refund checks for people that are typically getting those because of tax relief and also new programs kicking in that are going to be huge stimuluses for the economy. Job volume is down right now because we're in a kind of a transition period, but the jobs that are in existence are higher paying than ever. They've gone up considerably, and that's going to be the scale because now with about 17 trillion in foreign investment, we're going to see a lot of manufacturing come back to a small town America. A lot of deserted factories will be cranked back up again. People will be back to work in all kinds of different opportunities. There are industries that are making huge revivals that are going to spawn prosperity and employment opportunity for tons of people. We are getting ready to enter what President Trump says is an economic golden age. And the Democrats were trying to, again, grope around and find something to tear down the Trump administration. And for the second half of last year, they latched on to one word: affordability. You can't afford to be an American. Costs are too high. And the Trump administration has done nothing to address that. And it played into their strategy of wagging that dog because Trump was very concerned about trotting around the world and sending an economic message to all of our so-called allies and partners who had been totally screwing this country for generations, decades. Previous administrations, both Republican and Democrat, kowtowed to the European Union, to the Far East, to all of these big population centers that want to just ship in all of their products and all of their, a lot of times, crap to American consumers. And when America tried to get that in balance by shipping out American-made products, countries put ridiculously high tariffs on those items to discourage U.S. manufacturers from doing business in their country. I've told you before, the disparity had to be closed. America was paying an average over a 10-year period of about $380 billion in foreign tariffs to ship our goods to their countries, while they were unlimitedly sending all kinds of things to this country because American consumers are the absolute most voracious group in terms of their spending and their ability to afford products from all over the world. And those tariffs were only in the $40 billion range, $380 billion to $45 billion. That disparity had to stop. That's ridiculous. That means our country had this attitude for decades that, yeah, we don't need the money. That's fine. Send us all your stuff. We're not going to charge you very much for it. And Donald Trump came in and said, you know what? From a business standpoint, this is absurd. We can't have a $380 billion liability and only a $45 billion compensation. That's got to be leveled off. And so on April 1st last year, he initiated the U.S. tariffs to all of these countries that have been laughing all the way to the back and literally laughing at this country for how gullible and stupid we've been and how compliant we've been to accept that just unbelievable, unjustifiable disparity. So affordability was their theme right away. And of course, affordability was an issue because the 4 years of their pseudo president, Joe Biden, the biggest joke in the history of American history, not just the presidency, but to have a guy that was completely, pretty much mind-numbingly ineffective to be the puppet master, the puppet president, with the puppet masters behind the screen finagling the strings, all Obama officials. You've heard me say on the show it was the third term of Barack Obama, which you're only supposed to get two, but he was the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, pulling the buttons and throwing the latches and making everything happen. The bottom line is the affordability issue got completely out of hand in the Biden administration because of all of the economic disparity I just discussed, but even more, the ridiculous, unbelievable tens of thousands of regulations and prohibitions and, stifling the fossil fuel industry, the gas and oil industry, which drives up the prices of everything because not only the amount of money it takes to manufacture products, but to ship them to markets. It made prices go through the roof. Remember how grocery prices just spiked in that administration? Just went from, your typical trip to the grocery store weekly or bi-weekly. If it was costing you $150 before, all of a sudden it was more like $250 just seemingly overnight. Things that you had routinely bought for years and years, just all of a sudden, not doubled in price, but came up significantly, 25, 30, 40%. There was ridiculous prices of eggs and produce and beef. It was just completely out of hand. So when Trump ran on this platform of coming back and restoring life to how it was in the 4 years before the disastrous pseudo administration, Obama 3, a lot of people said, thinking back to the Trump years, it was much better under Trump from a price standpoint. So he got a lot of support from that particular direction. But all of a sudden, people looked up in the summertime when Trump was overseas and trying to get investors to bring manufacturing back to the country, because now with the tariffs that he had imposed, it makes more sense for manufacturing to be done here where there's no tariff. So all of a sudden, he's got $17 or $18 trillion in manufacturing business that's back on the table. Now, that's not going to materialize like a week from the time those deals are signed. Those plants began to go under construction and are under renovation right now. So many car manufacturers from all over the world are coming back to the United States after they left because of the affordability issue. American workers command more of a salary than foreign markets, of course. But now with the playing field level, you're going to see manufacturing come back. But all that doesn't happen overnight. So the Democrats seized on, Trump's done nothing about pricing. Affordability is the big issue. Well, as people have become more enlightened of what's coming here this year and will be in place, Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, a brilliant guy who is, again, not a diehard conservative or right-wing guy. Bessent is gay in his personal life, is married to another man. They even have children. So this guy is not the prototype MAGA guy, but he is a brilliant economist, and he says just wait and see how great a year this is going to be from an economic standpoint, and we're in position for the next couple of years. All of a sudden, you look at gas prices. There's things that are measurable. Gas prices are half of what they were in the Obama 3/Biden years. So right away, that's the first indicator that things are really on the road to recovery, literally in that sense. Anyway, I'm off the subject of what I really wanted to talk about because the current wagging of the dog has been a pivot from affordability, which they realize is not a sustainable issue, because as the year unfolds and people start to see more and more advantages to their bottom line, that's going to become an argument that they are not going to be able to sustain. So they've made the big pivot, and now the big issue, the one that they're going to hang their hat on, drive their stake in the ground, latch themselves to a rope of no backing down, is this whole issue about ICE. ICE has become the Democrat issue. ICE has become the platform. ICE has become the podium. ICE has become the soapbox to shout from, the mountaintops, the rooftops. We have this evil interrelated part of our government under the evil ruler Donald Trump's administration to terrorize American cities, murder American citizens. These people are stormtroopers. They're Nazis. They're the Gestapo. They're the forerunner of what we saw in Nazi Germany, because these people are going into communities and making them unsafe. Law enforcement officers sworn to uphold the law are the problem in this new narrative of the country in disarray, and it's all because of this immigration and enforcement group that are trying to rid our country of tens of thousands of illegals that have come into this country and committed crimes, gang members, cartel people, scammers like the Somalians in Minnesota, who have so far it's been traced back that about $18 billion has been literally stolen from taxpayers in all kinds of frauds and different scams, predominantly inventing non-existent businesses and childcare and healthcare and other entities that are just, if any, empty lots or dilapidated, deserted buildings. It is one of the great scams of all time. So you've got, because the timing was with all of that breaking, and people in Minnesota will tell you they've been aware of this for 10 years, but they've got such corrupt leadership between Governor Macho Tim Walz and their Mayor Fry of Minneapolis, and worst of all, Keith Ellison, the the Attorney General of Minnesota, is crooked and left and communist as the day is long. All of these ideologues who think America is evil have preyed on a group of people to be the stormtroopers in this movement in Minnesota, when ICE came in and started removing a lot of these people that you say, well, how did they end up in Minnesota? Cartel guys and drug gangs. And well, because Minnesota was the most welcoming, even more than New York and some other places, an easier place to pull scams and conduct illegal activities, because Minnesotans were just so compliant, and the leadership was so compliant. So this was a treasure trove of immigration enforcement to go in and remove a lot of these criminals who had sought out the most, welcoming of sanctuary cities. Denver in Colorado was another example of that doesn't get as much attention as places like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, who we expect to be in these particular modes of operation. So ICE comes in immediately, starts to remove people. Most of the time, they've got warrants. All of a sudden, the fake news starts coming out, because once again, you can wag the dog and convince the media of anything, and they're right on the team too, from an ideological standpoint, that ICE is roaming the streets and demanding that American citizens produce papers to prove who they are, that they're in these sweeps to just make people disappear. When when the truth of the matter is these people are operating, these enforcement agents, law enforcement agents, with warrants for particular individuals, and are seeking them out to arrest them and deport them from this country where they don't need to be here, conducting their illegal, illicit, oftentimes violent business. So you've got such a disaffected group of people in this country that have grown up in this environment of being told how evil America is, how horrible they are. A lot of them are women, surprisingly, who I don't know what kind of, and I don't stereotype people. If there's young women between 25 and 40 that have had a rough existence, have had bad relationships, had daddy issues, whatever they are, it seems like an awful lot of the operatives, the very front line kind of in the trenches soldiers of this movement, are people that they have recruited or are looking for some kind of purpose in their life, want to be some kind of savior. I saw the most vile TikTok video I've ever seen. I wasn't looking for it. I was just kind of flipping around, and this woman comes on here in a homemade Zoom with their whole head in the screen, shaved head, maybe 30 years old. Literally in her 300 or 400 word dissertation, every other word was F this, F in that, calling people, I guess I was indicted. It's white male, MF and maggots, MAGA maggots. I've never identified as MAGA. I want to make America great. I don't like the again word, as I've told you before on the show, because that opens the door to people say, well, America was never great. What do you mean make America great again? Our goal should be, along with our founders, the people who wrote our Constitution and set us in motion, should be to make America great. That's what the whole idea is. America was created to be great. And if you don't think it's been great, then we all should be working together to make it great. But that message is misinterpreted. The dog is wagged to tell people that saying make America great is only for Americans, white males like me, that I'm the only one who can benefit from the American dream, just because I happen to be. Now, I don't remember having multiple choice how I was born. I am what I am, and that's what all of us are. But anyway, that's been bastardized and taken away and hijacked into meaning something that it's not supposed to mean. Making America great is making America great for everyone that is an American, and you have to participate to have that happen, not drop off the map and become this radicalized socialist, communist, Marxist avowing, this is not a fair system. We need to have government be in charge of everything because, we're just tired of getting screwed. So you've got these people hostile already out on the streets, and they are not only the whole message that ICE is making it dangerous on American streets is only caused by this continuing organized, and this is not organic. If it was an uprising of organic nature, that would be one thing. This is all choreographed. This is all being paid for by people who are trying to blow this country up from within, since it's unassailable from without, from outside, and it's all part of that same kind of approach to make our country come apart at the seams by the enemy being our own people, people that have been radicalized and taught that our system is corrupt and evil, and it's not fair, and it's not equitable, and you don't have a chance. You need to raise your voice in protest of this country and what it offers, because you're not going to be one of the recipients, and you have no chance to succeed. So you've got all these hostile women now out on the front line. They've got this sophisticated communications system where if ICE is spotted, it dispatches with encrypted texts, I should say, to all of these foot soldiers to go to these sites and try and, quote, disrupt ICE operations of removing illegals from their community. And they rally them, and they're trying to take your neighbors away. They're trying to break up families. They're pulling every heartstring, every strumming, every string of compassion and righteous indignation in the hearts of these people. And they go there and they spit on and cuss and throw things, frozen bottles of water. They attack the vehicles. They attack these agents. And this is the dangerous situation that's being created. And it's being created on purpose, again, to reach a real goal. It's not the disruption that they're really the goal of the people organizing all this and manipulating these foot soldiers to go out and incite this kind of chaos. No, the real idea is to make them provokers. They want to provoke these law enforcement officers. What would have happened 25 years ago, 30 years ago, if you were in New York City and there was some kind of a problem on the street and the police were trying to organize the effort to get it under control, and a bunch of people showed up and started throwing things at the police and spitting on them? They would have been wrestled to the ground. They would have been taken away and arrested. That would have been the process, because you don't interfere with law enforcement officers. And yet these people are encouraged to do it. And because the federal officials have been told, you're just going to have to tolerate this, you don't see very many direct provocations be successful. But unfortunately, in Minnesota, within about a week's time, you saw 2 of them result in the person provoking that response. You found that they ended up being shot and killed. It was both situations, and we don't need to get into all the minutia of the details. But if you saw the video of the guy who was shot, seemingly, it's being called now by the left an execution of this guy, that he was murdered in cold blood. A week earlier, there's a video of him assaulting ICE officers, yelling at the top of the lung, "Come out here, confront me." They're trying to get away, and they're trying to leave in their car. He runs up and kicks the taillight out. He's throwing things at the car. He's spitting on the car. When the agents do get out and wrestle him to the ground, he's just dropping every F-bomb known to mankind. He is trying to provoke reaction, and he gets it. But that day, they let him get up and they just let him leave. This guy should have been in jail. You can't interfere with law enforcement officers that way. So the next week he goes back and is doing the same thing, and somehow it gets out of hand, and somebody recognizes that he's carrying a firearm, and he ends up dead. He's been murdered in the street in cold blood. Just this innocent guy peacefully protesting, where we've seen a film from 5 days before, a video of him doing anything but that. He's trying to provoke response. Same thing with the woman who was shot days earlier, trying to run an officer down, actually hitting him with her car and backing up, maybe to leave, but in his mind, maybe to try to make one final try to run him over. So he pulls out his firearm and he shoots her, and unfortunately, she is deceased. So you've had these issues where this provoking maneuver has worked to perfection as far as the crafters of all this, because they hit the mother lode, the big jackpot, when one of these foot soldiers, who they really don't care about, they recruit them, they train them on how to be an obstructor, hoping there'll be a confrontation, and the jackpot is hit when one of them is shot and killed, because now they've got unbelievable capital to work with. Every Democrat politician now talking about murder and mayhem in the streets at the hands of the Trump administration and this ICE force. And it is absolutely the goal that they try to achieve. And that is so perverted and so disgusting, because once that maximum level of complete abrasion and chaos and upheaval and disorder is created, now they send in the real troops, the second tier, the trained trained antagonists, the professional troublemakers, the ones who burned down the entire city of Minneapolis after the George Floyd situation. It's the same cast of characters. It's the same script. It's Wag the Dog 2 just about every day. So it's important that everybody is aware of what's going on. And I'll try to wind it down here since I'm kind of rambling along, but you need to look at the situation objectively. They're going to pull at your heartstrings and talk about these, Elizabeth Warren, this poor guy that was shot and killed, murdered in the streets for being a peaceful protester. It's just the kind of guy that you want your daughter to bring home. He's just such a kind and compassionate man. If you looked at that video, this guy looked like the furthest thing from kind and compassionate. And the guy that you want your daughter to be with, I mean, he's spewing the worst language and absolutely, I mean, spitting on people. It's so vile and so disgusting. This guy did not deserve to be shot and killed. I don't wish that on anybody. I'm not justifying, because these agents obviously were provoked to the point where they deduce they were in danger and defended themselves. I don't justify that. This guy's death is still under investigation, and if people were guilty of wrongdoing, we have a method of dealing with that. Just like the George Floyd death that touched off such destruction and wagged the dog for a long time. The officer that was ultimately accused of causing George Floyd's death was convicted and is in prison as we speak. His name's Chauvin. We have a method for dealing with improper situations, and unfortunately, these happen and have happened throughout our history. But the bottom line is, when you have just a couple of days later, if you can't put it all in focus from what I've said, think about the church service the following Sunday when all of these lunatics, a whole bunch of the professional ones, rushed into a church in session and started screaming at parishioners of how they were white supremacist racists. The fact you're in here talking to your God instead of being out here on the streets with us, fighting for your neighbors and your fellow citizens from this tyranny of government. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Little children were crying, terrified, not knowing what was going on. Parents were frantically trying to get to their children who, during that part of the service, were in a different sanctuary. The whole thing was just it's so heinous and so disgusting that, if you are not, why are you not out with us? Why are you in here? You're the problem. You're a racist. You're a white supremacist. You're living your lavish, comfortable lifestyles. They don't know the circumstances of any of these people. I'm sure a few of them were down on their luck and were on their knees at their church service, hoping for some relief and some solace from their faith. This violates everything this country stands for. And the fact that these people can perpetrate such an abomination in one breath and then turn around and condemn our country for this, once again, wag the dog distraction, that this government is evil. This government is creating violence in our cities. The violence is created by these miscreants showing up and trying to disrupt federal law enforcement procedure. It's really ridiculous. There are not ICE agents cruising the streets looking to make people disappear. All of these are just complete myths. The best Hollywood screenwriter and spin doctor, just like in the movie, are hard at work right now. And that's what you need to know. Take everything you hear on both sides of the ledger with a grain of salt. Analyze it for yourself, but come up to the right conclusions. Do not be vulnerable to people pulling at your heartstrings and trying to elicit a reaction from you by you not knowing the whole story, because that is what you need to know. And that is what I'm asking all of you to do in these situations. Analyze your lives, analyze the lives of the ones that you're acquainted with and you love. Have discussions when people don't have facts right or to try to manipulate your opinions. Stand up to them and tell them what you think. Don't be a sheep. Don't just follow the loudest voices, including mine, because I know it's pretty loud. But the bottom line is, you're an American. You have a right to conduct yourself in your life in any way you can. Don't let them wag the dog and manipulate you into a different direction of thinking without reasoning it and coming up with a solution for yourself. I'm Kip Keefer. That's what you need to know. We'll be back next week with more here on TKR.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.